Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Voices from the Mausoleum, and welcome back to another episode of Found Footage Fridays with my co-host Tom Reimer.
Hey, everybody.
This week we are talking the Andy Baker tape, which came out last year, I think 2021.
Pretty new. Yep.
Yep. I watched this on Tubi. Is that where you watched it?
Yep.
Okay,
Very
so you can
solid.
watch it for free on Tubi. Not a lot of stuff on it, but as of right now, it has a 5.8 out of 10 on IMDb. And I don't know what this is, but a 4.1 out of 5 on Voices from the Balcony.
Oh, that sounds a little similar. What is Voices from the... Okay, I don't know.
I don't know either. Apparently, it's a review site, though. Movies and some other stuff. Okay. That's what it says when you go to the thing. Yeah, so, and all it says, the synopsis is super vague. It just says, the last known footage of food blogger Jeff Blake and his half-brother, Andy Baker. That's all it says.
That does give a little bit away, even in the synopsis there.
Yeah.
About their relationship.
Oh, their relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think of this one?
We want to do I guess I'll do my tapes first since I'm introducing it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to start this entire conversation by saying I hated Creep. Most people that know me know that. And this is not story-wise, right? But conceptually, like as far as how he's done, it is very similar to Creep. So having said that, this is already not my wheelhouse, but yeah, so this is for my tapes for this one, I'm going 3 out of 10.
Oh, that's your lowest so far, isn't it?
It is. This is my lowest so far. And I'm obviously going to jump into why as we get further into the episode, but I have to say the thing about Creep because it is such a distinct style of storytelling. And some people really love this style of storytelling. And I don't. It's not my thing. So 3 out of 10 tapes.
Well, I really liked Creep. As you remember, that's one of my top 5.
That was one of your top 5
found footage films.
Yeah.
This isn't Creep.
No.
It's same sort of feel, like a same, very similar character, very similar idea.
Yes.
But yeah, it's not Creep though. Mark Duplass, I think, is the guy in Creep, and he's amazing.
Yeah.
This one, so I didn't give it. It's a low rating. It's not as low as yours.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with 5. Flat.
Okay.
And because there's parts of it, and I like the general style of this movie. Not really one that I would define as a scary watch, or
no, I agree.
One that you need to watch with the lights on or anything like that.
But
there are aspects of it that were definitely I found entertaining. So, but there's more.
Yeah. So so I think Unspoiled. I think this is like the epitome of a slow burn, because even though you get these like glimpses, these like little tiny moments, they're very small at first, and then they kind of build into bigger moments, as the story goes on. I do think that the acting is really well done. I don't think that I didn't have any problems with the character portrayals at all. I think they were able to make you feel about them like you were supposed to feel about them. Because in the beginning, I felt like the guy, Jeff Blake, I felt like he was a jerk. Like I didn't really care for him too much. And I was like really interested in Andy. And then as the story progresses and things happen, they're able to manipulate how I feel about them, which to me says that they did what they were supposed to do as actors. Right.
Yeah. I just want to say, like, I totally agree with that. Like, I would say the strongest
Yeah.
Part of this movie, and probably why I give it a 5 rather than a lower number, is that the two of them are very convincing as those two characters.
They are.
Like very convincing, like as a YouTube or food sort of network personality, and then
Yeah.
the creepy half brother,
Yeah.
very believable.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. I think my other things that, I mean, as far as like not likes, I just felt like it was really uneventful. I'm really picky about slow burns in
Mhm.
general. I'm pretty like honest about that. But this just I wasn't like super invested in what was going on. It kept my attention. I will say, like, it
Mhm.
wasn't one of those things where I was like on my phone or lost interest per se, like I have with
Yeah.
some of the others that I've watched from just found footage in general. And but I think that I think I definitely agree with the food part of it. Like I do think that was also really convincing, but I
Mhm.
don't know. It didn't feel like very much happened.
No, not until the end. Yeah.
Not until the end, and
Yeah.
it's sometimes that works really well, and I can't quite say one way or another what it was about this that didn't work in that way for me, but
Mhm.
it just felt like nothing happened, and I needed something more. I don't know what they could have done.
Yeah.
I don't have, like, specifics, obviously, but I don't know. I just felt like not a lot of stuff happened, and I wanted more things to happen, and, there was not a single thing that happened that I didn't predict or
I would
know already.
you're taking the words out of my mouth. I was just gonna
Yeah.
say that
Yeah.
the biggest problem I have with this movie is that, when it started, I sort of pointed to, I was like, okay, this is who this is, this is who this is what's
Yep.
gonna happen. And exactly what I thought was going to happen did. It was unpredictable, like entertaining, but predictable in an like really unsurprising sort of way. And that's why it felt slower. It's actually not a very long movie. It's a very short movie. It's like 100 and I think it was 109 minutes,
Mhm.
which is not long. And it
Right.
still felt long.
It did feel
So,
kinda long. Yeah.
and it's because, okay, we know where this is going, and that is where it went.
Yep.
I mean, I would be surprised if anyone watched this and didn't. It's not complicated. So, um,
Right. No.
but I mean, I thought it was entertaining. Again, I like Creep, so I think going into this movie, I was like,
Mhm.
oh, it's gonna be one of these. So it did draw
Mhm.
me in, but they're just, as you say, it was too slow and not enough of a payoff.
Yeah. I think, yeah, the predictability was a huge problem for me too. And sometimes I think like when films do things that you can kind of figure out, like you can get through it and it doesn't bother you as much if there's enough other things that wow you. But
Yeah,
this didn't have those things to take away from the fact that I could predict everything that was going to happen. So, yeah,
yeah, yeah. That's all we can say without spoiling, I think, though.
I think so. Yeah.
So
Yeah. So
we
I
should
guess
spoil it. Yeah.
yeah, we'll jump into spoilers. So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like I think so when he first mentions that he asked when Andy asked him, it's like halfway through the movie, I think, he asked him like, how did he die? And he's talking about Jeff
Jeff Blake.
Blake.
Yep.
I keep wanting to say Blake is the first name because Blake is a first name. So I
Yeah.
keep wanting to say Blake.
Jeff
So
Blake.
Jeff, he says like he's asking him about Jeff's dad and how he died because they
Mhm.
have the same mom but different dads.
Yeah.
And he's like, when he tells him, I immediately was like, no.
Yep.
Like
I mean, immediately. Yeah.
as soon as he said how he died, I was like, no, Andy did it.
Yeah. Well, so I actually I was like, no, Andy did it. But what if the twist is like actually something about Jeff? Like, and Andy is like, I was like hoping it was gonna go
And
that
Andy's
way.
gonna end up being the innocent one.
Yes,
That would
like
have been a good twist.
there were a lot of moments where I felt like Jeff was like, at least at first, overly harsh with him and like quick
Yes.
to snap at him. And it was like, dude, this is a guy you don't even really know that well, and you're talking to him like he's a child. Which there were things that Andy did that were very immature. He
Sure.
had, sort of childish reactions to things, but like, yeah, Jeff was like talking to him like he was his kid. like pretty early on, and
Yeah.
and so like you're like, okay, maybe there's more to Jeff. Maybe
Yeah.
he's the bad guy. That
Yeah.
was the only. I think that was one of those things that kept me watching, but that's not where it went.
Well,
Unfortunately.
and I think to your point, I think they did try to mislead in that way because he even asked him if his father was abusive. He was like, "Because I've seen this type of
That,
anger
yeah,
before."
yeah,
And it just kind of I think like you said, I do think that might have actually been intentional to try to maybe make you think, but it just didn't yeah, he was pretty harsh. He was kind of a jerk even right before he met him. I like immediately I had a dislike of him, of Jeff.
yeah.
Like immediately. Like as soon as I saw his face, I was like, he's a jerk. I don't really care for him. And then of course his behavior, I was like, really? And then he kind of gradually softened a little bit, and
Yep.
then that's when like I guess it was supposed to kind of match, the flow of the storytelling in that way, but it was like God, he was such a jerk in the beginning.
Yeah. And then like Andy, from the very first moment that we meet him, it was like you knew the type of character that this was supposed to be. He like kind of like tries to scare him after he's never met him before, and he jumps out from behind the window or something like
Yeah.
that, and it immediately was creep vibes.
Yes.
From the
I
get
thought
go.
the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, and similarly in that movie, that Mark Duplass is a bad dude. His character is a bad dude in that movie.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it did feel very similar. It definitely was original in its own right, but it
Oh,
definitely,
sure.
I would
Yeah.
say, I don't know if it was inspired by that movie. I would say most people who watch found footage probably have seen Creep,
Hmm.
but like it on its own, it didn't. It wasn't original enough. It wasn't enough in general.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like Andy, there's a lot of weird stuff with Andy, like a lot of um, giveaways. He doesn't like to be on camera. He seems to have a strange temper. A lot of pouting, running away.
Mhm.
Um, the strange thing about him wanting to be Jeff's equal and like have a role in his Food Network show was strange. And it was also strange that the Food Network wanted to include him on the show
That
with
would never
Andy.
happen. Yeah.
Um, well, I mean, I don't know. Like some of the casting you see in some of these reality shows, they do want to put people on who are going to get people to watch and views and that sort of stuff. But like, that was sort of hard to believe, like Food Network or
I
something.
think, yeah, well, and I think some of their weird dynamic I could have bought maybe being fun for TV. But once he did the thing with the car where he took the clothes and he locked him in the car and admitted he lied about all that stuff, I feel like Food Network would have looked at that and been like, ooh, liability. Like, it would have been a problem. But I think like one of the things that I think is kind of disappointing about it as a whole is because I do think that the premise is good. Like I think this concept of having a half brother who was treated like an outcast because of this affair situation, and this brother who's like on YouTube and trying to make something of himself and got to have like a little bit more than normal family, like that jealousy, like all of that stuff from a storyline perspective made sense, and I got it, and I'm like, okay, I got it, like following along. It was just like it lacked a little bit in the execution, but I think yeah, I don't know. I think the Food Network thing was weird to me too because I feel like just given I don't know, like the way he was on camera most of the time, I don't know. Like it's just hard. That part I had a hard time believing.
I
Yeah.
but I kept watching it. I really did like the two of them. I thought they were good together, the two actors.
Yeah, they
I
had
just wanted
chemistry.
more for them. Um,
Mhm.
like they were really the best part. I think they both were good. Like they both were good
Yeah.
in front of the camera in
Yeah.
completely different ways.
Mhm.
Trying to think what else. There was a lot of really creepy stuff. With Andy like filming him as he was sleeping, and like
Well, he's
the
in the
stuff at the
shower
end where
too.
he
It
like
was weird.
disappeared, and um, kind of a cool shot. And I don't know if I call it a shot, but Andy's chasing him down in the car and like hits his face against the glass, and there's just like a smear of blood on the. I don't know. I thought that was
Yeah.
a cool
You're
shot.
talking about after he puts his stuff in the car and then he goes out in the
Yeah,
car and yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That whole thing. But like, oh, and the best shot in the movie is when he's trying to, for whatever reason. Okay, and this is I found sort of unbelievable. He's like, he goes back and forth between, or Jeff does, trying to, get Andy to return his phone calls after he just like attacked Andy basically for trying to steal stuff. He wants him to be on the show with him. Food Network won't do it without him. And then finds out that Andy is like stalking him. And of course, Andy appears there in the door. Like, it was a cool, kind of a cool shot. He's just
because he wasn't there, and then as soon as Jeff
one of those sort of things, which I like. I like that stuff.
Yeah.
And like immediately, I'm like, oh yeah, don't let him in.
What an idiot. Like, I know, like, we're all trying to not do our day jobs. I get it. But like, there has to be a line of self-preservation.
But I would say we say this is a found footage thing. We say this, and it's a horror movie in general, sort of thing. There's a general lack of self-preservation skills in a lot of these movies.
That's fair.
That sort of makes them what they are. If everyone was really good at saving themselves, you wouldn't have these movies. But yeah, he lets them in and ends up, meeting his demise at the end, basically, which is when all the action happens. The last 3 minutes of the movie, something like that. It's very fast.
It's very short. Well, I think the ending is definitely probably the strongest part of the whole.
Oh yeah.
Because I liked, so I actually thought the part where he's like climbing in the car, I thought that was really creepy. When he when Jeff gets out and he like calls 911 like at the very end, and he like you just see him
like, you see like the hook or something, crawling
through the back of the car. I was like, what the hell? That part was really cool. But no, I think from the time he realizes that he's being stalked and Andy shows up outside the door, that last chunk of time, I really actually liked that part a lot. I thought that was all good. The part when he has the watch, I was like, damn, I knew it. Like, I knew it. I knew he was responsible for the father's death. And then I even really liked the concept of him like tying him up and dumping like expensive spaghetti sauce on. Like, I liked all of that. I thought that was good.
Was it Rao? Like, what was it? It was a real expensive spaghetti.
It was, because he made spaghetti for their lunch, like when they first met. And I thought that was a cute little like tie into that. Because he did like ragu or something, right? Like it was like a $3, I thought that I really like, he's like, you want to be a food blogger? Like, I thought that was all really good. I just wish they had done more stuff like that throughout. I needed a little bit more action, but I really did enjoy the end of the movie.
One thing about this movie is that there's, and this is a common thing we talk about in found footage, but there was a lot of it in this movie, in that there were a lot of there were a lot of inexplicable reasons that they were still filming, I thought, in this movie. I know he was a blogger, but like, why did Andy need to film a lot of the stuff he was doing with Jeff? Do you have an answer for that? Like, why was Andy filming himself torturing Jeff? Was it being streamed live? Was it?
No, I think what I got from that is just, I think I'm kind of going back to like him being like jealous of him. And like, I think in some ways he wanted to be him. Like, he wished he had the same opportunities, the same life, instead of living, the way that he lived. Right. And this was like his version of vlogging. Yeah. So like, that's kind of what I got from it, was that it was like his way of doing what Jeff did. He was like, wanting to be so much of his equal, so much like him, like wanting to be involved in doing these things, when in reality, it wasn't because he wanted to be close to Jeff at all. He wanted those things for himself. So I think like that was kind of my takeaway with it, was that he just wanted to do that himself, even though obviously that would be jail time. But anyway.
And then again, I guess on the same note, like I had a problem with the last scene, which I loved. I really enjoyed the last scene when he's driving away. But why was he filming himself then? Did Andy turn the camera on in the car? Was it accidentally on? That was one of those.
I don't have an answer for that one. I have no idea.
That was strange, I thought. But I focus on those things with these.
No, movies. I know. Yeah.
Yeah, but so it was it's interesting. So it's a brand new one. It's free. It's on Tubi.
Yeah.
And if you like, I would say this. If you like the style of like a creep sort of movie, and that's not the only one. There's a few out there that are sort of in that vein. This is probably one you want to watch. Like it's definitely sort of in that category or that subgenre. I don't know what it would be called. I don't even know what I would call that.
Because it's not really slasher. It's like,
no.
I always call it like people found footage when like there's nothing. It's just people being crazy. Like, I don't know.
Is there's that new one like something my cat or something like that? Is that what that is? Is that a people found footage? Yeah. I haven't seen that one yet, so I don't know. But
I heard it's a wild one.
A wild one. Okay.
So but I would say that's like all under the same. I don't know what else to call it either, because like I don't, like I said, it's not like a serial killer thing. It's well, creep it kind of is, but it's like situational. Like it's like this. Like Andy's not going out killing everybody that we know of. He's just focused on this one situation, you know. So it's like people found footage. I don't know.
It doesn't sound as interesting.
It does.
If you like people found footage, this is in that category. So
definitely. And if you have a better name for that, leave it in the comments.
What would you call this? This subgenre?
I don't know.
If you made this movie, what would you call this?
Yeah, what would you call it?
Subgenre of found footage.
Yeah.
But yeah, enjoyable. Would have loved more. And again, I really love the two actors.
They did a good job. Yeah,
I'd like to see them in some more stuff. Actually, both very believable. Yeah,
I agree. Yeah.
All right.
So our rating is a little different, but we do feel similarly about a lot of things.
But it's still, I would say for us, I feel like I tend to rate a little bit higher than you. Not all the time, but
no, not all.
Three. That's low. I'm surprised.
You know what I rated, and this is not found footage, but I rated the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre a 4, and the only reason I didn't rate it lower is because there was a lot of blood. So it bumped it up a little bit.
I don't think I knew you didn't like that movie.
The new one? The new Texas? No, I hated it. I'm not a huge Texas Chainsaw Massacre fan anyway, but I just thought it was so silly. Leatherface is like 70. Like that alone.
So is Michael Myers.
Yeah. Well, he also isn't like dolphining out of a water hole after a bunch of teenagers either. So
he's indestructible, but
yeah. Well, there's that whole like supernatural element with him too. It's like
fair.
I don't know. There's a lot of things about that one that I really just didn't like. I laughed more than I probably should have.
Yeah, I mean I'm not a huge fan of that franchise anyways, but I did see that and I liked it as much as I liked the other ones. So
okay.
It's like, okay.
It's so funny because I used to think that we were like really close based on ones we talked about that we loved. And it's so funny seeing how different it is every week. Because
cool.
I never know what to expect.
Well,
which is good. I think it's a good thing. It works for the on-camera experience, but it's just so funny because I was used to, or I was in my head thinking about conversations we had about ones we both really liked.
Incantation, for example.
Yeah. Well, and that was funny because that was like one of the first couple ones that we did. So it was like, okay, so this is kind of what I was expecting. And then it's just funny how like different we go.
Yeah. I would say has there been one where we've been like on complete opposite ends though? I don't think so. I mean, we've been within a couple. Or two.
Yeah. We've been within a couple of points.
Okay. Well, we got to keep going. We got to find the next one where we're on exactly the same page. We're on the hunt.
Yeah. The hunt for that is on.
Maybe it'll be the next one.
I'm actually, I'm really excited to talk about the
which is, should we say? Yeah.
We could say.
The next one, similarly. Oh, and I guess I should say about the Andy Baker tape. I believe the main actor in it is also, and I don't know his name off the top of my head. I think he's involved in the production, either writer, director, or something like that. So, I think I could be wrong, but similarly, our next film that we're going to discuss next week is probably a little better known, and it's the first in the Bad Ben series by by Nigel Bach. So really excited to talk about that because that's another one where the main actor is really, well, in that case, everything. The director.
Yeah. So Jeff and Andy wrote this together.
They did. Okay.
And then the guy that
Interesting.
plays Jeff is also the director.
Okay. Interesting.
So
Well,
writing it together, probably, I mean, like with the chemistry that they had as the character, I mean, that all kind of makes sense to me. So
they wrote their own characters, basically.
yeah, probably.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
So anyway,
I love that. I actually really like that. It makes me
Yeah.
want to. It makes me want to give them a higher rating. Actually,
that they did
Yeah.
all of the stuff.
I think that's cool. I just like make your own found footage movie. I'm down with that.
Yeah, I agree.
Get
Yeah.
it on Tubi.
Yeah.
It's no small feat.
Mhm.
Although
Yeah.
although Tubi has an awful lot of found footage films, so
It really does. And now they're doing their own stuff too,
I've
on
seen
top
it.
of other stuff.
Love it.
Yeah. So if you didn't watch last week we talked Cronewood, right? That was last week.
Yes, we did. Yeah.
And then and then we'll be back next week to talk about the first only talking about the first one for Bad Ben.
Yes.
Cool.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us on this Friday. Enjoy your weekend. Have a good week coming up, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, everyone.